All right, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for watching my video today. So this is my guest here. She came in for a half highlight. She was wanting to freshen up her blonde. She wanted to brighten up her blonde, but we also like to retain some dimension in her hair color. She does have medium darkish hair, and so for grow out purposes, we do like to keep some dimension in there. It allows for a nice soft grow out. She also likes to be nice and bright around the face. So unfortunately, I did forget to record the sectioning of my half highlight. I will do that in a upcoming video, I promise, but for this one I did forget that, so I'm so sorry. But you can kind of see here that I have the front section sectioned off separately, and then I'm doing that top sort of triangle in the back of the hair there. And you can see here I'm going, I don't know if you saw on the screen there, but I am using Blonde with 20 volume on her hair. She doesn't need a huge amount of lift, so no reason to use anything stronger than that. I love Blonde, I love the consistency. So as you can see here, I'm doing a fairly fine weave. And one thing I wanted to point out that you'll see me doing over and over, I'll go in initially with my brush, and I actually have quite a bit of product on there, and I will apply it to the highlight, and it almost will look like a harsh line first thing. And you'll always see me go back in and I'll feather up slightly. The key there is not to feather too much. I find if you feather too much, what happens is you end up diluting your product, and you can end up with warm spots up there at the top of your highlights. So I'll go in with a fairly good amount of product, and I'll place it on the highlight, and then that way when I feather it up, it's feathering up also with a nice amount of product, and so you get that really soft feathered effect, but it doesn't end up diluted or warm. So you can see here also that I'm not bringing the lightener down through the ends. Her ends did have a little bit of a yellow tone to them. Her toner had wore off when she came to see me, but I can take care of all of that with my toner. I don't need to go over and lighten those ends again. I also did want to mention that I did add pH bonder to my lightener for this process. I am loving pH bonder. Sometimes I'll use Olaplex. I do have a couple of other bonders, but for this one I was using Redken's pH bonder. So you can see here that I'm just going to work my way around in the back. Sometimes some of the sections can get a little bit wide, and so I would rather take smaller sections and do one extra foil, or rather than take an extra wide one. So you saw me doing that. So here you can see I moved to the front, and I am going to pull out some really fine sections around her face. You can see she had quite a bit of grow out. It's been a bit since she's been in to see me, so I'm just going, I apologize, I'm getting in front of the camera. I'm new to my YouTube videos, so I'm trying to learn my angles and trying to not be in front of the camera too much. But so I am going to take my time around the face. I do take my time and really take those little fine sections. I find that that makes for the softest look around the face with the blonde, and it also makes for a really beautiful grow out. Now, a lot of my guests, this one included, do like a little that shadowed look. That does help from having that really harsh line of demarcation the minute that their darker brown or medium brown hair starts to grow out. That's just the worst, having that really harsh line of demarcation. So I don't get it right up to the scalp, but I definitely around the face try to take those really fine sections, and that helps with that grow out and that soft look as well. You also can get a lot of lift out of that front area as well. So here we go. You can see I'm just the same thing, really fine baby sections here. Feel free to switch and have a 10 volume for around that face as well. That face framing hair is definitely a lot, it's not as strong as all the other hair. It's delicate hair, so nothing wrong with using a 10 volume on that hair as well. I would suggest that if you're starting out or if you take a little bit longer with your highlights. And again, I'm not dragging the lightener all the way down through. I'm just hitting that top couple of inches to freshen up that blonde. You can see she did have quite a bit of growth there, so just gonna make my way up this side section. I'll usually work my way back at a diagonal there in that front side section. Again, I do have a few different sectioning patterns that I will use. On this guest, I did do the sort of traditional right up the sides method. I do keep it again at a diagonal because I do think that that creates a little bit of a softer fall for the hair. So you can just see here, just gonna work my way up those sides. Really kind of standard. I do find that a lot of my highlights do look a little bit more like baby lights. That's just my preference of the way I do highlighting. I like a softer lightening piece. It's kind of weird verbiage, but I just don't like that chunky, thick highlighted look. That one right there, you can really see that verges on baby lights, but that's just my style. That's the way I prefer to do it. Pulling those ends out of there. And you want to watch also, you know, it kind of depends on how bright your guest wants to be, how much dimension each guest wants left. But sometimes when you do your highlights, you want to watch and see. There's a couple of things: how far you pull it down to freshen up that blonde. And then also sometimes, so that one right there, you'll see I did include a lot of the bottoms, and that's because she did have some depth or darkness really far down, and she was wanting to brighten up a bit. So, you know, sometimes you are going to have to bring it down a little bit farther, and then other times less. Sometimes you're actually going to have to touch up that top root area and then almost weave the bottom area and pull out any dark pieces that you see. Again, it's going to depend on how much dimension you want left in there, but yeah, sometimes those dark pieces can run fairly far down. So if you see here, you will see me do it in a couple of areas where I have the hair laying on the foil, and I will apply my lightener to that whole root area, and then I'll take my comb and I'll pull out little extra bright strands, but then I'll pull the lightener down on some darker pieces as well. But this is just where consultation is key. Everybody says it, and it really is true. Consultation is key. Look at pictures, talk. I spend a good amount of time on consultation, just making sure that both me and my guest are on the same page in terms of what that person is wanting. And I'm also very open in terms of where I think I can get them. That's one thing that I pride myself in, is just being really, really direct in my consultation. And if I don't think I can get you there, I will tell you, and I will explain why. And this way, there's really not a whole lot of room for somebody to be super disappointed in the end if they don't get where they want, or if we get too blonde or anything like that, you know. So anyway, for lack of a super long video, I sped it up right there, and here we are all done. You can just kind of see, again, this was a half, so around that front area, pretty packed in foils. This particular guest doesn't wear her hair up at all, pretty much, so we don't stress a whole lot in that back underneath nape area. So you can see here she gets really beautiful lift. Really, it lifts beautifully. That pH bonder helps every time. I just love pH bonder so much. And so then here we are, and as you can see here, you want to rinse really, really well. And then I added my pH bonder number 2, shampooed out, and so here we are. So this is a funny time. I always call this my spaghetti noodle phase. It's so funny to think that back years ago, this is how so many people would leave the hair before the root shadow or the smudge got so popular. This is how they would leave it, and it's just so odd to us now. But anyway, this is my spaghetti noodle phase. You can see she got a lot of really beautiful lift, but we are gonna smudge or shadow out that root area. And what that does is it just softens the top of those highlight lines. So you can see on the screen here, I was using Goldwell Colorants, and I love the 7N, 7NA mixture. And I do use the Cover Plus lotion. Colorants has 2 different lotions. They have their regular lotion, which is the Demi Permanent, and then they have their Cover Plus, which just adds a little bit of extra coverage, and I love that one. I do think that I get a little better coverage and a little bit better longevity out of it. So whenever I'm doing a root shadow, I will use that one. And I'm just gonna go through here, just fine section by fine section. And you can see there in the back where there are no highlights, her hair isn't terribly dark brown, so it actually looks really, really good. Here, you know, it looks a little dark back there, but it looks really good. You'll see when it's dry. But so you can see the top of those highlight lines. That's what we all are doing that root shadow or that root smudge for. For any regular clients out there that watch this, that's why we do that. You want to soften that line. You don't want to see that sort of harsh demarcation line where the highlight stops. So here again, I'm just gonna speed up my video just to keep this thing from being an hour long. And again, I'm just gonna go through just little section by section. I do also add it a little bit to the area where there aren't highlights, just to make sure that the coverage goes all the way through, or the color, I'm sorry, goes all the way through, and we have that same tonality at the base. I want to make sure I have that same kind of 7N, 7N8 look at the base, so I apply all over. Also, you want to make sure and leave your root smudge on as long as possible. You can see here on the screen I've put, you don't want it to go too dark, which it can do if you leave it too long or if you haven't formulated correctly, but you also want to leave it on long enough that you get the color and the coverage. So you can see I do pull out her face framing area there because we don't want that going too dark. She does like a little bit of depth around the face, but definitely nothing dark. So I do pull that out. So here I had applied my toner. Again, I'm so sorry, I forgot to record the toner part, but I did use Colorant's 10P with 10BS for her toner, and I was just brushing it through with the wet brush to make sure and blend the root color with the all over toner. And here you can see it's just stunning, brilliantly blonde. Absolutely loved this. You can see she just has the most beautiful hair, always makes my job so easy. Just love this. And you can see really we achieved a lot of brightness with the half highlight. That depth looks really nice. We really like that for the grow out and for the natural look of it. If you think about where the sun is going to naturally lighten your hair, it really is going to be those top areas or that face framing area. That dark area back there around the neck or the nape, the sun wouldn't lighten that naturally. So that's always what we sort of aim for anyway. So again, I'm just giving her a nice smooth blowout, and here you can see we were absolutely in love with this color. My guest was so happy. I felt so bad I was turning so that I could get the camera and she was wanting to look at herself. I felt so bad. But there you can see, there it is. Really pretty blonde. Again, this is Coloron's 10P mixed with a little bit of 10BS. These two toners or demi-permanent colors from Coloron's are so pretty. They are going to cancel out a lot of the warmth, but at the same time they're going to leave just enough for that really brilliantly blonde look. 10P has become so popular nowadays and it's just such a pretty color. I absolutely love it. The 10BS is a little bit of an ashier tone, so I like to add just a little bit of that in there, and it just makes for this really beautiful beigey, cool toned, yet just enough warmth. It's kind of a weird thing to say, but you can kind of see it here. So I'm going to go through and just give her those really beautiful beach waves that we all know so well. For anyone that doesn't know how to do those beachy waves, really the key is to pull on those ends a little bit with your curling iron at the end to give that straight bottom inch to inch and a half with your curling iron. The other trick is to make sure that you're alternating the direction of your curls. So you want to go one way and then the other, and one way and then the other. The reason we do that is because if you were to go all the same direction with your curls, those curls will actually, throughout the day, those curls will kind of jargle or jumble together and it'll look like one big Farrah Fawcett curl, which, don't get me wrong, I know that that's an iconic look, but I find that a lot of women and girls nowadays really like this sort of beachy wave. So anyway, yeah, so you want to make sure that they're both going in separate directions and then they fight against each other and they won't wrap together as you move throughout your day. So just gonna go through here really quickly, give her those lovely curls. You can see all that dimension. And usually around the face, you are going to take those curls away from the face. So, you know, the first few curls around the face, you're going to make them go away from the face. But then just about the ear area, everything is going to start going in separate directions. And there you go. There's our finished product. Absolutely loved this result. You can see that 7N, 7NA is so pretty up at the root area, really natural. Her hair is going to grow out so soft, no lines of demarcation. And there you have it. I'm so glad you guys chose to watch my video today. I hope that you're enjoying them. I plan to be making many more and share my hair that I do. Until next time, bye.